Hello and welcome to Crimewatch Roadshow. As always, we need your help to solve crimes happening where you live. Also, on today's programme. The crack team of detectives hunting for fugitives hiding out in London.
They've got this ghost in the locker, if you like, and they're waiting for somebody to come and remind them of something they'd hoped that they could forget about.
And a boy with autism on his way home from school, attacked by a sexual predator.
He's very, very caring. He's a very good boy, but trusting. We don't know how dangerous he is. We don't know if the next child he picks on is going to be even younger or even more vulnerable.
Today, Michelle is at the Met's state-of-the-art police college in Hendon in North London.
I am indeed, Rav. Today, I'll be finding out how the police train detectives to investigate crime scenes like this one and crack cases.
Thanks, Michelle. Can't wait for that. Now, first up, a terrifying ordeal for a partially sighted grandmother robbed in her own home.
I can't believe that anyone would have wanted to hurt my mum. She's elderly, she's vulnerable. She used to feel quite safe in her home, but not anymore.
Avtar Kaur Mann has lived in Southall for the past 50 years. She's the head of her family and loved by all.
Mum has got a large life personality and she is fun. Even all our friends all call her Buddy Mum, which means Big Mum. We came over from India on the 16th of January 1965. So Mum's lived in that house a good 40 years. Dad worshipped, Grandmum walked on. They were known as the auntie and uncle that held hands. Dad worshipped Mum.
Since Avtar's husband died in 2004, she has lived on her own. The family have done everything they can to protect her independence, even installing a complex CCTV system throughout her home.
In order for her to retain her independence, my brother's got the cameras installed so that we can keep an eye on her. Mum can have the peace of mind knowing that we can watch her. Unfortunately, on this horrible, horrible day, I was out, we just weren't watching the cameras.
On a Wednesday afternoon, Avtar was at home alone when she heard a knock at the door.
It was 2:30 in the afternoon. She felt quite safe just opening the door. She just expected one of her children. She didn't expect to be attacked in her own home.
Avtar was confronted by two men. They forced their way in. They pushed her to the floor, frisked her and ripped off her earrings, her bracelets, rings and a necklace. They threatened her in Punjabi.
Well, they said a word in Punjabi which has double meanings. They said, "Assi tenu maar dena," which could mean to hit or to kill.
What they did next is truly horrific. They grabbed hold of her hands and legs and dragged her into the bedroom.
She must have been so scared, and just even thinking about it scares us. It's just horrible. We feel so helpless that we weren't there for her.
Petrified of what they might do, Avtar managed to stand, but could only look on as they ransacked her house for a full 10 minutes. All they could find was a small amount of cash, which Avtar had saved for her local temple. They then fled the house.
Mum didn't have her chunni, like a long scarf around her neck or on her head, when she ran out of the house, and that would be something that she would never, ever, ever do. To see her running outside the house like a scared animal and holding onto the door, and I've seen the footage, and just seeing my mum's face, she just looks lost.
The level of violence used in this crime is completely and utterly disproportionate to what was stolen. The jewellery had sentimental value, but its financial value was of no great significance. But the long-term effect that this has had on Mrs. Mann and her family is incalculable. It is my feeling that they knew that she was alone at the time, and I would urge the community in Southall, West London, to come forward and assist us.
The guys that did what they did to Mum, they don't realise what they've done. It has impacted my Mum's life in so many ways. She's not as confident as she used to be. That she doesn't even open the back door now when she's cooking. Even with the chain on, she's quite reluctant to do that. And in the summer, she won't sit in the garden unless somebody's with her. She doesn't put clothes out on the washing line by herself. They didn't have to do what they did in order to get what they got. They didn't need to touch her. They didn't need to, frisk her or scare her and scare her in such a way. They could have just taken it. She's a little old lady.
Really terrifying for Avtar. I'm with DC Nicholas Strachan, who's investigating this. Now, there has been an arrest made on this case, hasn't there?
Yes, in November of 2015, I arrested one Ahsan Ali, at the time a 21-year-old Pakistani national. And in February of this year, he was sentenced to 9 years imprisonment for this brutal robbery. He unfortunately has not cooperated in naming his accomplice.
So it's the second man that you're looking to identify today?
Indeed. The second suspect that I'm looking for, at the time of the offence, I would estimate to have been between the ages of 17 and 21. He's a Punjabi speaker, and as you can see from the CCTV, he stands about 5'7" to 5'10", of slim build, with a very large nose and pronounced dark eyebrows.
This has had a real impact on Avtar and her family, hasn't it?
It was a tremendously traumatic event for Avtar. She's bounced back to a degree, but nevertheless, to this day, she still lives in terror in her own home, fearing that this unidentified male will return.
Well, Nicholas, hopefully someone will be able to name him. Thanks very much for joining us, Raf.
Thanks, Michelle. Now it's time to take a look at some more criminals caught on CCTV, and just so you know, one of these is pretty nasty.
It's closing time at this club on Croydon's High Street, but keep your eyes peeled for what happens next. A woman and her friend make their way over to the parked-up taxi they've booked. But this man, walking past them, takes a chance and gets in. The woman tells the cabbie that she's the one that's ordered the car, not the man sitting in the back. She's annoyed and tells him to get out. What happens next is shocking. Having punched the woman once, he goes for her again, until the door staff intervene. The victim needed specialist treatment for her eyes, but luckily has now made a full recovery. Police need your help to catch this man. You know what to do. Look closely in the bottom left-hand corner. This bird's eye view shows a man smashing his way into an industrial unit in Buckinghamshire. As he sprints into the warehouse, we get a good look at his face. Do you recognise him? He squirts liquid from the bottle he's carrying all over the stock of newspapers and magazines, then lights it. But he's not finished yet. On his way out, he sets the loading bay on fire too. The warehouse quickly goes up in flames, totally gutting the building. Luckily on this occasion, no one was hurt, but around £30,000 worth of stock was destroyed. This dangerous fire starter needs to be caught. Name him. This homeowner's CCTV catches a visitor to their house in Ashford, Kent, but no one's in, and he's not invited. But he's still desperate to get inside. Looks like he's having a bit of trouble working the blinds though, especially when the alarm goes off. Police believe this man may be responsible for several burglaries in the area and want to know who he is. Can you tell us his name?
If you recognise anyone, now is the time to call. Numbers are on the screen, or you can text us on 63399. Text CW space and then your message. Text will be charged at your standard message rate, or send us an email. There's the address, cwr@bbc.co.uk.
Now, this building is full of surprises. It may look like an unremarkable corridor, but it's far from it. Behind every door is a potential crime scene. Who knows what may have happened in this post office? Or in a domestic situation, for example, what may have occurred in this flat? Joining me now is Detective Inspector Trevor Borley, who runs the investigation faculty here. Your officers can train for every different type of scenario, can't they?
That's right, Michelle. These rooms are set up to represent real-life crime scenes that officers may be faced with out on the street.
And you've even got a bar.
We have.
So, Trevor, set the scene for me. Exactly what is going on here?
OK, Michelle, the scene that we've created is an armed robbery, and one of the priorities for me is to try and find the suspects who committed this crime.
And when you arrive on a crime scene like this, obviously you're against the clock, time is of the essence. How do you decide what to prioritise, what's important and what's not?
Yeah, we've got different priorities. First thing is preservation of life, to make sure there's nobody in here who's injured and requires medical treatment. After that, I'll be looking at other fast time opportunities. You can see the CCTV in the bar there.
Yeah.
We'd look to use that to see if we can identify anybody. And also, I'd have detectives out making witness inquiries at the same time.
You've got a scenes of crime officer here, as well as a detective constable. What exactly are they doing and how do they work alongside each other?
Right. The senior detective, or me on this occasion, would have a consultation with the scenes of crime officer and would decide what our priorities were around evidential recovery, DNA, fingerprints. We'd photograph the premises, and as you can see on the floor here, we've got a baseball bat which appears to have blood on it. We'd look to put potentially DNA evidence there and fingerprint, potentially blood on the shirt here that's also on the floor, and also on the floor we can see what appears to be spent shell casings from a firearm. So we'd recover all that evidence. All
very important evidence. I might as well help you guys out. Rav, as we continue gathering all the evidence up, make sure you join us later as our investigation continues. Who knows what key clues we might find.
I'm looking forward to finding out who done it. Now, there's lots more to come this morning, including the daughter who had the last memories of her mum stolen when a thief took her handbag.
Of course, the first thing in my mind is, oh, no, the memories, the photos that was saved on the phone.
And the colourful police car helping in the fight against hate crime. We'll be speaking to actor and presenter Adam Pearson about why these initiatives are so important.
Christina Menzies was a happy 16-year-old living with her family in northwest Germany, where her father was posted in the army. But for 24 years ago today, her body was discovered in undergrowth approximately 8 miles from the base. Her killer has never been found. Now, to mark the anniversary of her death, officers are reinvestigating the case and they're making their first ever national UK television appeal for information. I'm joined this morning by Captain Alex Spanton from the Royal Military Police. Alex, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you know about the events leading up to her death?
Well, on the Saturday, Christina and her friend had been to the Rhine Army Summer Show and then in the evening gone on to Club 47, which is a nightclub on RAF Gütersloh at the time. Been arrangements for her parents to pick her up at midnight. They'd arrived earlier at 11:30 that evening and seen her leaving the club. They spoke with her. Christine was allowed to go back into the club for the final half hour. From there, we have the last sighting of her leaving the club at the back of the building about midnight. The next time that we're aware of where she was when her body was found at 4:45 on the Sunday afternoon in undergrowth, as you say.
Here we can just see the undergrowth there. This is the area that she was found, just a few miles from the military base. Now, we've said this was 24 years ago. You, of course, haven't given up on finding out who did this. Her parents are still desperate for answers and some sort of closure, and we can hear from them now.
She could be really funny without knowing that she was being funny. You know, she wouldn't tell you jokes or anything. It was just some little things she would do, it was just like really, really funny, and I just miss it every day.
We're stranded. We've been stranded where we are for the last 24 years. Nothing has moved forward. If somebody comes forward with information, it would make us feel that maybe at last we're going to get justice.
Yeah, so desperate for answers, as you can understand. So what leads do you have in this case?
Well, the original investigation had forensic evidence, which is being reviewed currently with new technologies, but very little new information at the moment, and that's the appeal for today. There was fibre evidence suggests that Christine was wrapped in a Union Jack duvet quilt that was being sold in the NAFI around the time. That quilt has never been found.
And the shoes, tell me about these.
Likewise, Christine's shoes have never been found.
So these weren't her actual shoes, but they are very, very similar to what she was wearing at the time of her disappearance. So that could trigger something in someone's mind.
It could be. They've never been found, so that's what we're...
And it's worth saying this was 24 years ago in a military base in Germany, but a lot of these people may have finished their military service and now been living back in the UK, and these are also people that you're appealing to.
Absolutely. Anyone that can help us out with Christine's movements from when she was last seen at midnight to when her body was found, anyone with any information that can help us progress the case.
All right, Alex, thank you very much for joining us. As we say, it's been 24 years of pain for Christine's family. Please help in any way you can and get in touch using the numbers on screen.
We've been delving into the work of detectives today, and they actually have all sorts of different specialisms, from burglaries to fraud, armed robberies to murder. But there's one particular team within the Met unique job, and that's the extradition unit. We've been following them as they track down the fugitives who are crossing the borders to escape the law.
London, home to around 9 million people. Hidden amongst them, fugitives, wanted for crimes committed across the world. But if they think they're safe, they're wrong. It's the job of a specialist team of detectives to find them and bring them to justice.
We are actively and routinely trying to find some of the most wanted criminals from across Europe and across the world.
It's 6 a.m. and work starts early for the Met's extradition unit. With thousands of warrants issued for people wanted in other countries, this dedicated team are responsible for making more than 500 arrests a year. Today, DS Pete Rance and his team are on the hunt for a fugitive convicted of serious crimes in Poland.
This is the chap we're looking for this morning. It's a fella called Sebastian Zimoch, wanted in Poland.
The team arrive at what they believe to be the wanted man's address.
The offences took place about 10 years ago now, but they're obviously serious offences. There's an offence of robbery where he's involved in beating a man and causing him quite serious injury over a protracted period of time, and also in controlling a number of girls in a prostitute ring in Poland. So serious enough offences for us to warrant getting out of bed at 4:30 this morning and coming to try and arrest him.
As Pete approaches the front of the house, his team cover all other exits in case their fugitive decides to do a runner. No one is answering the door, but convinced someone is inside, the team stay put.
Good morning. Sorry to trouble you. Detective Sergeant Rance from the police. It's okay to go? You know why we're here?
Yes, sir.
You understand why we are here?
We do.
Okay. From the Metropolitan Police Extradition Unit, my name's Pete Rance, I'm a Detective Sergeant. Can you just tell me your full name, please? It's British, Polish. Sebastian, there's a European arrest warrant for you, issued by Poland, OK? Unfortunately for you, I have to arrest you on that warrant. You don't have to say anything. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
Okay, yes.
OK. You're not in trouble with us in this country, but there has to be a court process to see whether a judge decides to send you back to Poland or not. So what we're going to do today is we'll take you to a local police station, and then we'll take you to Westminster Magistrates Court, and the court process will begin. How is your English? Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Knowing he can no longer evade justice, he makes a desperate phone call to his lawyer. But there's no response.
Bring the phone, and you can call him in the car, or when we get to the police station, or after we leave the police station. We will stay with you now until we go to court, okay?
This fugitive, who has been living with his wife and children in London for the past 3 years, now faces the real prospect of being extradited back to Poland.
Okay?
Yes.
We'll take Mr. Zimok now to Belgravia police station. He knew the writing was on the wall and that the time had finally come for him to have to say goodbye to his family. We're now at the police station. We'll take him in to the custody officer and explain why he's been arrested.
Pete discovers life on the run has taken its toll on Sebastian Zimok.
How long have you lived here?
2 years.
And you've been waiting every
4 years.
You've been waiting every day for this.
Every day.
I thought that was the case. Okay.
It's now a race against time. By law, they have to get him to court as soon as possible, within hours of his arrest. It'll be up to the judge to decide whether Zimok stays or goes back to Poland to finish his sentence.
He's said to us that he was waiting for the knock on the door for some 3 years. They've got this ghost in the locker, if you like, and they're waiting for somebody to come and remind them of something they'd hoped that they could forget about.
There's no time for reflection. For Pete and his team, it's time to track down the next fugitive.
Well, joining me now is Detective Sergeant Pete Rance from the Extradition Unit. What is the latest on the man that we saw in the film there?
His case is next before the courts on the 16th of June, so we're awaiting a decision from the court now.
And there are some potentially dangerous fugitives here that you need the public's help tracking down, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the first case we've asked for the public's help with is the case of Cassius Clay Bankuta and Stelu Banika. They're 2 Romanian nationals who are accused of attempted murder that happened in Romania last August, where a man was beaten with a shovel and a knife. We believe they could be somewhere in London. We'd ask the public, if they see them or know them, not to approach them, but to give us a call on the number.
And there's another man, isn't there?
Yeah, that's an historic case. That goes back to 1999. It's a Bulgarian case. Veselin Kavaldiev, he's wanted for murder. And we believe, again, that he might be in London. And again, we'd ask the public, don't approach them. Just give us a call on the number so we can go and speak to them.
Pete, thank you very much. If you do recognise any of the men that Pete mentioned, make sure you do give us a call with the numbers on the screen. You can also catch Pete and his team in a new episode of Fugitives. That's on BBC One, 11 a.m. on Friday, the 23rd of June.
Now, every parent wants to know their children are safe when they make their way to and from school. But for one mother, that ended when her young son was targeted by a sex offender.
Willesden Green in northwest London. There are a number of schools in the vicinity, and it's a common sight to see children walking these streets on their way home in the afternoon.
It's an area where there are lots of young kids and they've all grown up together and they've gone to school together. So going to school and coming home, it's very, very busy with lots of young kids. So it does feel fairly safe at that time of day.
For this mother, it was crucial her son had the confidence to walk home on his own, because routine is very important for children with autism.
We spent a long time over the summer holidays teaching him the route so that he would have the independence to be able to walk with his friends. It's important for him not to always be too cotton-wooled. He needs to be like the other kids.
Her son has a form of high-functioning autism, which makes it hard for him to read the intentions of other people.
He's very, very caring. He's a very good boy, but trusting. So if somebody's asked him for his help, he'll always try and help them, no matter what. He's not really able to understand that somebody might be lying.
On the 11th of January this year, her son was on his way home when a man pushing a bicycle came up and spoke to him.
A man approached him and asked him for help. He said he wanted my son to take a picture to send to his brother, who was in Norway, and he wanted him to take a picture at his house. He wanted his brother to see that he had a house.
The man led the schoolboy off the main road and towards a nearby housing estate on Griffin Close.
He had deliberately taken him to a quite secluded spot. So he went along with the guy to take the photo, and as he was concentrating on looking at the man's phone to take the photo, the man came up behind him and grabbed him.
It was then that the man sexually assaulted the schoolboy.
He said he was grabbed and he held him, and I think that was the most frightening thing for him. He felt he couldn't get away, and the guy held him. He knew it wasn't right, and he felt very, very uncomfortable about it. I was at work, sitting on the computer. My phone went, and it was my son ringing from home. And he was quite upset. He said something happened to him on the way home and found it difficult to explain what it was. I rushed home, and on the way I called the police.
Police investigating the crime have released an image of the man taken from CCTV at the scene of the offence, in the hope that someone will recognise him.
This is a very serious crime. This is a vulnerable schoolboy that suffers with autism, and it's an assault which has happened in broad daylight whilst he walks home from school. It's particularly concerning for the local community, and we would urge anybody with any information to come forward. This crime is also particularly concerning because the boy in question is quite young in age, but looks somewhat younger than his years as well. So it is a concern that maybe this suspect is looking for children of a very young age.
Even months later, this attack has left its mark on the boy and his mother.
It's a sour feeling. It's a horrible feeling. It's a shadow cast over our lives. And I just think it's very sad he found out in such a nasty way that people aren't always kind. Not everyone's like him. And I just hope that with the help of people watching this, that we may be able to put a name to the man that did this to him, make sure he doesn't do it to anybody else, because we don't know how dangerous he is. We don't know if the next child he picks on is going to be even younger or even more vulnerable.
With me now is Detective Constable Charlie Guy. You saw her in the film there, and she is investigating this case. Charlie, this was a particularly worrying attack, wasn't it?
Yes, this was particularly worrying because the young boy suffers with autism, which makes him even more vulnerable. He was a schoolboy on his way home from school when the attack happened in broad daylight. The suspect met him on Park Avenue and actually led him to Griffin Close, an estate nearby.
There is some good CCTV footage of this man, isn't there?
Yes, we've got some good CCTV footage from Griffin Close. It shows the suspect and the young boy walking up a grassy hill towards the alleyway, and they emerge around a minute or so later on, and then the boy runs off towards his home address. The suspect that we're looking for is an Asian, possibly Southeast Asian male in his 20s. He's around 5'4", slim build. He's wearing quite a distinctive green parka jacket with an emblem on the sleeve and a grey beanie hat. The boy makes mention of him having a push bike, which unfortunately we don't have a picture of. But the suspect did mention something about a brother in Norway. We don't know, again, whether this is true or not. And also that he had a phone with him that wasn't an iPhone.
The mother mentions in the film there that she just really wants to name someone to recognise this man, doesn't she?
Yes, I mean, we need some closure on this case. Somebody out there will know who this man is, so we would urge anyone who knows who it could be to come forwards.
Charlie, thank you very much. As you heard, any information that you do have at all, please do get in touch.
Thanks, Michelle. Now, this car you can see coming in doesn't look like your standard police car, but this rainbow car is actually helping in the fight against hate crime, and stepping out of it right now is PC Ian Ashton from Lancashire Constabulary. Ian, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Tell us about your car then.
Well, this is one of our new response vehicles that's been liveried up in the rainbow colours, and that's specifically to raise awareness within the lesbian, gay, bisexual and trans community for the need to report hate crime.
And how are you using it then in order to do this?
The vehicle is out 24 hours a day on a normal shift with a response team, responding to normal Treble 9 incidents and other incidents with the police. So it's a focal point for people to see what it is, come up and speak to us, find out what it's about, and it's about increasing that confidence and trust for the public.
Breaking down the barriers, isn't it?
Yeah,
Getting people to come and talk to you, and you're finding that's really helping?
Yeah, it is. It's really good, and people are seeing what it's about, and then obviously that confidence and trust everything to come forward.
Because sadly, you're finding that there's more hate crime at the moment, aren't they, being reported?
Yeah, unfortunately, sort of post-incidents such as London and Manchester, we do tend to see a spike in hate crime. The really important thing, though, is we want to encourage people to report it. It's massively underreported nationally and locally, and we want people to report it to us.
Things like this are certainly helping. Ian, thank you very much, and good luck with it. Well, as PC Ian Ashton was saying there, hate crime is a growing problem, and the number of incidents has risen 19%, and disability hate crime has risen the most. Well, someone who knows why it's so important to tackle hate crime is Adam Pearson, actor and filmmaker, presenter as well. Adam, morning. Thank you for joining us. You've been at the hands of some sickening abuse yourself, haven't you? What sort of things have you encountered?
So there's a real spectrum. So it can range from abuse in the streets. I was just at a bus stop with some friends, had a guy with his camera phone getting all up in my face saying, "Are you from this planet?" taking photos. And then you get the good old keyboard warriors.
People who are suddenly all brave when they're hidden behind a keyboard, and you're unfortunately finding that a lot as well.
Yeah, everyone's got an opinion, and they're not afraid to let me know.
Well, Adam, I have to say, some people think there's no point in reporting things to police. What would you say to those people?
There is absolutely a point. Hate crime is a very real thing that affects people in a very real, long-term way. And it's very easy to point at it and go, this is just harmless name-calling, boys will be boys, and what have you. But the only way we're ever going to bring those statistics down and stop hate crime happening is to report it efficiently and effectively.
And how do you find something like the rainbow car there? Would you think that's going to be a good thing in order to do this?
Anything that brings down hate crime gets my thumbs up.
Yeah, no, you don't mind saying that you're quite strong-willed. You get some abuse and you can take it more than some people. But I just want to hammer that point home that no one should stand for this at all. It doesn't matter who you are. It's not acceptable. No, it is illegal. And you want to make sure, as you say, it's criminal.
It's criminal behaviour. Let's treat it as such.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Adam, thank you very much for joining. I'm sorry that you have that awful abuse and very important words that you've just said there. Let's hope that that rainbow car we saw earlier, as Adam says, helps others to come forward and report hate crime. And it's worth knowing that victims of any crime can speak to victim support. I'll give you their number now. It's 0808 16 89 111.
Next, a woman in Tottenham, North London, still grieving the recent loss of her mum, has been left devastated after the last memories of her were stolen by a heartless thief.
As an only child to a single parent, Connie Lou had always been very close to her mum.
So the household is a very small household. It has always been me and my mum. So for me, family really is mum.
Originally from China, Connie came over to London to study and stayed when she got a job in the city. 3 years ago, her mother came to join her.
She doesn't speak that much English. I was her ear and eye, so yeah, we have a very close bond.
But their reunion was overshadowed as her mum had been diagnosed with terminal cancer.
She was quite young for the fact that she wasn't even 60 yet. And the type of cancer she had was very rare.
In her last months, Connie's mum recorded her final memories on her phone.
Photos of our last trip, photos of her in the hospital bed, in the hospice, her last ever photo. Really just her entire last year of life.
In the weeks after her death, Connie kept her mum's phone close to her in case there were any friends who hadn't heard the news about her death.
There are still a lot of phone calls, a lot of messages from her old friends, probably in China or here in the UK. So I carry it with me to let people know about the news.
2 months after her mother passed away, Connie was out shopping at Tottenham Retail Park.
We are decorating our bathroom, so I went to B&Q to buy some tiles.
As always, she had her mum's phone close at hand.
Yeah.
At that time, I was at the peak of my grief. I was thinking about her every day. Hence, I'm actually constantly aware of where the phone is.
She was loading her shopping into the boot of her car when a man approached her.
So he made some small talk, and I was small talking back. I remember the last sentence he said to me was, "Don't worry, I keep the area safe."
But keeping the area safe was the last thing on this brazen criminal's mind.
I slammed close the door, the trolley away, returned to the car, which probably overall takes half a minute, and immediately I realized I can't see my bag anymore.
Worst of all, in that bag was her mum's phone.
Of course, the first thing in my mind is, oh no, the memories, the photos, you know, Mom's words that was saved on the phone.
Desperate for its return, Connie used a member of staff's phone to text the thief in an attempt to appeal to his conscience.
You have my dead mother's phone. Please come back. I'll pay you, no question asked.
She tried to use a phone tracking app to locate it.
I realized he's on the move, further away from me, and that's the point when I lost hope. We did receive a phone call from him. It was silent, but afterwards it would hang up.
Unfortunately, the phone is switched off on St Newton High Road. We understand that we're not going to get the property back, but what we would hope is that someone would be able to identify this man because of the nature of what he's done. He clearly hasn't cared at all about the hurt that he was causing. To have that cushion removed that her mother had prepared for her, well, I can't imagine how hard that would have been to deal with.
It was quite, ashamed for my part that I didn't back up the phone in time. Partially because I felt I would never lose it, partially because, backing up the phone was the last thing on the to-do list every day, and there was a lot of things going on back then. I'm worried about forgetting the moments that we spent together. Yeah, so that's what impacts me the most.
Just a really sad case. PC Hannah Woodfield is investigating. Now, Hannah, we know that Connie was able to track the phone for a short while afterwards, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was able to use the Find My iPhone app to track the phone going from Tottenham to Stoke Newington.
What do we know about the suspect?
We know that the suspect is approximately 5'8" to 5'10". He's Middle Eastern or Turkish in appearance. He's got dark black hair that's greying, and the victim said that he has a prominent nose.
This case is really important to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the first case that I was assigned when I came to Haringey Borough, and I'd really like to get some justice for the victim because of the absolutely terrible situation she had with the phone being taken.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, the phone was really important to it. It had sentimental value, didn't it?
Yeah, the phone contained memories and messages from her dead mother, and you can't put a price on that. It's definitely worth more than the value of the phone.
Well, if anybody can recognise this man, please do make sure you get in touch with us. You can also email us, you can send us a text. Any information at all, please do get in touch. Raf.
Now it's time for a look at today's wanted faces, and we're starting with 33-year-old Mitchell Harris. He was charged in connection with a violent disorder in Rugby Town Centre in which 4 local men were attacked. He was due in court but didn't turn up. Originally from Sunderland, he may now be working on construction sites across the UK. Or do you recognise 26-year-old Paul Daniel Heaton here? He was convicted at York Crown Court of supplying Class A drugs across Scarborough, but failed to turn up to be sentenced. Heaton has a Mancunian accent and links across the city, in particular to Falsworth, Moston and Cheetham Hill areas. Next this morning is Gbenga Ajibade, although he calls himself all sorts of different names, including Oluwagbenga Olanriwaju. He was arrested in connection with a series of high-value fraud offences targeting bank and mobile phone customers. He was released on police bail but hasn't returned for further questioning. He is 5'5" tall, originally from Nigeria, and has links to East London, Kent and to Birmingham. And finally for today, we have Raja Majid Ali, although he too uses numerous different names, including Malik Amir, Mitara Bayal, Jay Cole and Majid Hussain. Now, detectives would like to question him in connection to a series of thefts from different employers at newsagents and convenience stores across the UK. Ali is 35 and has friends in Essex, North Yorkshire and to Hertfordshire. So if you know where any of these faces are, make sure you get in touch using the numbers on screen.
I'm joined again by Detective Inspector Trevor Borley, and earlier we're at the scene of an armed robbery, and detectives have now found some vital clues outside the building. We've got the getaway car.
Yes, Michelle, yeah, potentially we've got the getaway car here. We're conducting a forensic investigation here to try and link this vehicle to the crime scene or to the bar and potentially the suspects that were involved.
So again, we've got the detectives, we've got the scene of the crime officers. What is the decision-making process that they're going through at the minute?
OK, well, I've already had a consultation, as I mentioned earlier, with the scenes of crime officer who's here. We've photographed the vehicle and now we're systematically searching it for forensic evidence. We're looking for things like fingerprints, of course, DNA, tape-ins from people's clothing, which may link to a suspect and back to the bar. We just want to join everything up.
And that's kind of what they're taking the swabs of
OK,
over
yeah,
there.
yeah. If you could look on the passenger window there, there's sort of what appears to be some blood. So there's some DNA evidence that's actually being recovered there at the moment.
How important is it to link the evidence that you find in this car to what we found earlier in the bar?
Absolutely crucial. For successful prosecution, we will need to link all those things up to get it to the stage where we take it to court.
And there's a key piece of evidence that we found. We can just see one of the guys picking it up there, can't we?
Yeah, there is. What appears to be, or is a firearm, which we hope to link to the shell casings that we found in the bar earlier. We can send that off to our forensic science service or laboratory, and they would establish if it's the same weapon that was used.
Potentially a successful investigation.
Yeah, potentially, yes.
And I hear that the Met are now looking for new detectives.
Yeah, we are. We've got a very innovative new scheme at the moment, asking people to join the Metropolitan Police Service direct as a detective. You can go onto our website and apply. We're looking for people with the right skills and the right abilities, and particularly an investigative mindset to join the Metropolitan Police.
Trevor, thank you very much. Rav, you never know, potentially a second career for me, perhaps.
Michelle, you would be great. Fascinating stuff. Time now for a look at what's been coming in on the calls, texts and emails. And a number already coming in on the Christina Menzies case. Remember the teenager who was found murdered in Germany 24 years ago today. Please do keep those calls coming in. That's brilliant news. Plus, you may remember yesterday we appealed for your help after the mugging of 77-year-old Jean Russell in Crystal Palace. Many of you phoning in with messages of support, but remember, police still need to identify who the man caught on CCTV is. If you recognise him, please do get in touch. Michelle, tell us where you're going to be tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to be back in Gravesend in Kent, and that's where the Met trained their riot police. You may remember, Rav, I was there last year and it literally took my breath away. So I've got between now and tomorrow morning to get prepared again. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, good luck with that, Michelle. Remember it well. You'll be brilliant, I'm sure. See you tomorrow. For more details about the crimes on today's programme, go to our website. Finally, here's another look at this morning's wanted faces. If any of them look familiar to you, then pick up the phone and tell us where they are. We're going to be back tomorrow morning, but until then, do take care.